Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you having good day. In this video, I am gonna talk about my student Deku. What if Deku consumed the Archno virus and became Spider-Deku? Part 1. And subscribe for more, also like this video, that will be awesome, helps me to stay motivate. And thanks to the author of this story, this video is possible. So do check it out and show some love. Name of this fanfic is Arachnophobia by Fiery Fix. So do check out the author of this story and check out entire work. Also, if you have any complaints about videos, feel free to comment, I will try to improve them. Let's jump in video. Fugo Sakamata, better known by his hero name Gang Orca, was out patrolling when he was stopped by someone. Now, most of his fans were adults or older teens. He understood that most younger children found him intimidating, so he was a bit surprised when a child came running up to him with the biggest smile he'd ever seen. "Gang Orca," the boy said, beaming up at him. The boy had a spider mutation quirk of some kind. He had 4 bright yellow eyes and was covered in green and blue fur. "But I am, and who might you be?" the hero asked, looking down at the child beaming at him. "I'm Izuku Midoriya," he answered. "Well Midoriya, are you here alone, or are you with someone?" Orca asked as he didn't see anyone with him. "I'm here with my parents shopping. They said it was okay to walk around," Izuku said. "I see, then how can I help you Midoriya?" Orca asked. He didn't think it was a good idea to let a child of about 8 run off alone in such a crowded place like this, but he wasn't the boy's father. "Well, you are my favorite hero, and I wanted to ask you if." The boy paused as pulled at the bottom of his shirt. "It's alright," Orca encouraged. "Well, can anyone be a hero?" the boy asked. "Yes, if they work hard enough anyone can be a hero," he told him. "Even someone like me?" Izuku asked tentatively. Orca then understood why this child had sought him out. For those with heavy mutation quirks, people more often than not were seen as freaks. Even him being a top hero didn't exclude from this, as the media dubbed him the hero that looked most like a villain. "Yes, even you. A quirk is only a tool, and only you get to decide how to use it," he told the boy. Izuku smiled brightly at what he had just told him before thanking him and going off. This was why Orca had become a hero, to inspire and help people like himself. It was night and Izuku was happily walking along. He still couldn't believe that he met Gang Orca today. Well, looky what I found. Some freak out prowling," a man said as he came off the alley. "Can I help you, sir?" Izuku said, looking at the man. He reeked of alcohol. "As a matter of fact, you can, by getting your disgusting face away from us normal folks," the man shouted at him. "Sir, you're drunk and I am just trying to walk home now, if you'll excuse me," Izuku said as he tried to walk around the drunk. "You little smartass." The man went to attack Izuku, but stopped when he felt something sharp at his throat. "Really, you're a grown man and you're attacking a child?" Izuku's whole demeanor changed as looked at the man holding him there with his pair of long spider legs from his back. "You goddamn. Now is it really wise to insult the person holding what is basically a knife to your neck?" Izuku said, letting his leg dig into the man's skin a bit, drawing a trickle of blood. Izuku's whole demeanor had changed as he looked at human trash. "Please don't hurt me," the man pleaded. "Tell me, if the tables were turned, would you have?" Izuku asked him, and the man started to sweat more at the question. "That's what I thought." "Please no." The man's screams went unheard and Izuku left his body there as he continued his way home. Soon Izuku arrived at a trash-covered beach. He navigated through junk piles until he got to a tin shack. There was no door, just a tarp that covered the entrance. This was where Izuku called home for the last few years of his life. "May, you're still up?" Izuku didn't live here alone. He shared the space with the pink-haired May. She was like him, having a quirk that wasn't what his family wanted, so she was tossed aside just like him. "I'm almost done with my newest baby. What had you out so late?" she asked, and Izuku tossed her wallet full of cash. "Wow, what a haul, where you get it?" "This jerk tried to attack me on the street. Man, his face was priceless." Izuku laughed. "Are you okay?" May asked. "I'm fine, he didn't even touch me, but I did bite him and left him next to a dumpster." Izuku's bites caused people to pass out with no memory of what happened to them. "Oh, you wouldn't believe who I met today." "Who?" she asked. "Gang Orca. He was so cool," Izuku said. "Bang, I should have gone with you to show off some of my babies." May huffed. "I highly doubt he would let a 10-year-old work for him, May," Izuku told her. "Marketing is everything in support, Izuku," she told him. "I know you've told me many times before. Now let's go to bed. We have school tomorrow and I have a feeling it's going to suck," he said, going over to the hammocks they slept in, dragging May along or she'd be up all night. The next day at school, Izuku was proven right because someone had put a millipede on his desk. "That's so gross, Deku, put your lunch away." Someone laughed while others joined in. "Sorry, I don't know how he got out of my lunchbox," Izuku said as he picked the insect up by its tail. "What are you doing?" one of his classmates asked. Izuku didn't answer as bite the creature's head off. The class was all shocked and speechless as he violently ate the bug. Once he was done he licked his lips and looked at the one who placed it there. "Thanks for the snack," Izuku said. He'd been labeled as a problem by his school after his former childhood friend and he got into a fight. That coupled with his quirk, the other students thought of him as a delinquent and avoided him, but there were still a few who liked to try their luck. "Midoriya, stop bothering the class," the teacher said as he walked in and saw his class was all in shock. "Yes, sir." Yup, today was not off to a good start. Classes went on and Izuku hadn't had any more trouble, so he was hopeful when lunch came around. "Deku? Spoke too soon. What do you want?" Izuku asked as Bakugo came stomping up to him. "Where were you yesterday? The hag made me go over to your dumb house and auntie said you weren't there." Bakugo growled. "You must have missed me," Izuku said casually. "Whatever, freak. Why hasn't auntie fixed that?" Bakugo said, pointing to the hole on Izuku's sleeve. "I forgot to tell her," Izuku said. "Why does he have to bother him? It's not like he cared about him in the slightest." "You better not tell her it was me," Bakugo said, his hand popping off. "Wouldn't dream of it." He never did get why the other boy cared so much about what his mother thought of him. Bakugo humphed as he and his lackeys left him. That was one of their better encounters. Maybe it was one of the better days. "How safe is this?" Izuku asked as he eyed Mei's latest creation. "Not to worry, my fluffy brother from another mother. The Air Boots Mark III is guaranteed not to catch fire." Mei declared. She placed her baby on the ground as she stepped back. "Great. Good to know that I won't be set on fire this time," Izuku said, shivering as he remembered her last explosion ended with his fluff singed. "Be less flammable," Mei yelled as she pressed the button remote. The boots didn't do anything at first and Mei frowned, but then the gadget buzzed to life and shot into the air and Izuku took a step back. "Amazing," Mei said as her baby went up higher. "Yeah, but how do you get them down?" Izuku asked as they got higher still. Mei froze as she watched her invention go up to the trash line. "It will be fine," she said, only for the boots to go out of control as they neared the top of the trash piles and smashed into them. "Look out," Izuku yelled, pushing her out of the way of the collapsing junk. The boots didn't stop and the two kids watched in horror as they continued to crash and knock things over. They ran after the boots if they didn't stop them. The best case was their shack would get destroyed and the worst would be the police would be called and who knew what would happen then. As they followed the trail of destruction to the other end of the beach. Thankfully the boots ran out of power and landed in the sand not far from their shack. "There you are, baby. You did so well, just a few adjustments and then you will be even better," Mei said, picking them up and dusting them off. "Well, no scorched marks and nothing is on fire and so I count this as a win." "Hey, do you hear something?" Izuku asked, looking around for the source. "I think it's coming from over here," Mei said, going over to a broken refrigerator. On the other side was a group of 3 men, one of the men was on the ground not moving. Mei used her quirk to get a better look and gasped when she saw red sand under him. She backed up only to bump into a large someone. He was holding a passed out Izuku in his arms. "Looks like I found another rat," the bald man said with a grin. Izuku groaned as rubs his head. It was pitch black around him but his eyes quickly adjusted. This wasn't his and Mei's place. Then the events of what happened came back to him and he sat up quickly. "Mei? Mei? Are you in here?" Izuku called as he looked around. "Izuku, keep it down." Mei groaned as she sat up. "Where are we?" "I don't know," but Izuku was stopped from reaching her by a chain around his leg. Mei had one around her leg as well, chaining her to the other side. "Where are we?" Mei said as she looked around but couldn't make out anything, so she pulled out a small flashlight and clicked it on. "I think we're in a storage container," Izuku said as he looked around. There wasn't any way out, but they weren't alone, there was someone else chained up here with them looking worse for wear. "That's the guy from earlier," Mei said, shining the light on him. The man had white hair and was mostly covered in burns and staples. He had his arms shackled to the back wall unlike them. Maybe to stop him from using his quirk. "Get that fucking light out of my face," the man growled. The light must have pulled him awake and the shooting pain in his side kept him there. "Hey, don't get mad at us. We're the ones that got caught up in whatever you were doing and ended up here," Izuku yelled back. Just because they were trapped didn't mean this guy could be mean to Mei and get away with it. "What the hell were you two brats even doing out there so late? Your parents know you were out this late at a dump," he said, just realizing they were kids. "We're clearly out for a late night walk. What do you think? We live their shit for brains," Izuku told him with a roll of his eyes. "Really?" the man said in disbelief. "Yup, my parents just dropped me off there and drove away and his just pale kicked him out," Mei said. "Fuck, I'm sorry," the man apologized. Looks like wasn't the only one with shitty parents after all. It's fine. So what do these guys want with us anyway? Izuku asked. He didn't want to think about his crappy parents at the moment. They were looking for people for something and wanted my help. I turned them down and as you can see that didn't go well. He said as he jiggled his chained up arms with a wince. Great, well I don't want to end up locked in a rich old guy's basement so, May. Izuku said, turning to her. Already on it. She said as she just finished picking her shackles lock. May went over to the boys and freed them as well. So what now? Now we get out of here. The man said as he rubbed his wrists with a grin. After a bit of arson and surprisingly no fighting the three were able to get away. Well, that was fun, so what's your next move charcoal? Izuku asked the man and they watched the shipping yard burn. Charcoal? He asked with a raise of his brow. Don't think we got each other's names. I'm Izuku. Izuku said. May. Fair. Name's Dabi and as for me, I'll probably lay low for a while, what about you guys? He asked the kids looking at them. Go back to the beach, why? They made it clear that neither of them could go back to their families ever. Damn it, I can't believe I'm saying this. Come on, you stay with me. Dabi said those guys would definitely come back there to look for these brats and next time they might not be this lucky. And why would we do that? Izuku asked. Besides the fact that those guys might come back to the beach looking for you? Free food. He offered, both the kids were underweight he could tell just by looking at them. May, what do you think? Izuku asked her. I'm fine with it as long as I get to bring my babies. She said, casually. Ah. Babies, Dabi said, shocked. This girl had babies. She was like 10 at most. She means her gadgets. May's a builder and very enthusiastic about her work. Izuku explained. Whenever May met someone she often asked if they wanted to see her babies. Everyone at school thought it was weird that she called her inventions that add that to her uninterested attitude towards people and it had her in the same boat as him. Outcast and a freak. Fine, but let's her act. Dabi yelled as he held his side. The adrenaline was wearing off and the pain was coming back. Hey, are you okay, do you want to go to the hospital? Izuku asked, he'd seen Dabi's hand had a bit of blood on it. No hospitals. Dabi said. They were too risky so that only left one choice. Do either of you have something I can bite down on? Here. May said, handing him a rag from her back pocket. Dabi placed the rag in his mouth and took a deep breath. This was going to suck. Lifting his shirt Dabi ignited his hand and brought it to his bloody side. Woo, you have to tell me about your quirk. May demanded once the wound was cauterized. Your flames are really pretty. Izuku said offhandedly, blushing as he realized he said that out loud. That was not the reactions he expected from the two, especially the spider child, but he took that over horrified. Thanks, now let's get going. Dabi said, letting them lead the way. Inko Midoriya hummed as she looked at her wedding picture on the mantle of their new home. She couldn't believe how lucky she was to have such a wonderful husband as Hisashi. So when she found out she was pregnant the couple was over the moon. She could give Hisashi the child he deserved for making her so happy. Or she thought. When the baby she gave birth to was born looking like a monster she was heartbroken. Hisashi on the other hand was shocked. Neither of them had any quirks like that in their families. They had wanted to get rid of him at the start but they couldn't as it would look poorly on Hisashi. He was a rising star at his job and that could bring everything to a stop so begrudgingly they kept him. Then the little monster had the nerve to hurt little Katsuki and lie about it, saying the other child started it. That was the final straw. That thing wasn't worth keeping if it was dangerous so that night they got rid of it. Honey, what are you doing? Hisashi asked as he kissed her cheek. Nothing. She said, hugging him back. Let's get off your feet, you shouldn't be walking around so much. Inko giggled as he picked her up and placed her on the couch. As he went to the kitchen to get them a drink she rubbed her round belly. You'll be so perfect. She whispered. Dabi wasn't sure why he decided to take home two random kids he just met. Well, that wasn't true, he knew all too well about shitty parents. Still, he had made a commitment when he told them they could stay with him, which meant he was going to have to find a more legitimate form of income. That was easier said than done, he wasn't exactly a beauty pageant winner. Hopefully, he will hear back from someone soon. Currently, he was on his way to pick the two little troublemakers from school when he noticed there was a crowd of children by the gates. Izuku was mad, no scratch that he was pissed. He was just minding his own business when the blonde bane of his existence decided to ruin it, what else is new? By asking him questions. You know, for someone who doesn't like me you sure won't leave me alone. Izuku said as he glared at Bakugo. Shut up you stupid bug. Bakugo yelled. Spiders aren't bugs, they're arachnids dumbus. Izuku smirked at Bakugo's shocked face. Really Bakugo, you should already know that you are at the top of the class after all. May added with a laugh. Stay out of this freak eyes. One of Bakugo's lackeys said he went to step toward her, but Izuku stepped in front of her. The boy immediately faltered as Izuku glared at him. The boy wasn't brave enough to actually do anything, the only reason he was here was Bakugo. Izuku looked around as a small crowd had gathered around them. He looked past the crowd and the teachers were back there pretending not to see what was happening as usual. Is there a problem here? Everyone turned around to see Dabi, dumb name, there behind them. The other kids were quick to run off seeing the man's burned appearance. Nope. Izuku said as he and Mei went over to his side. Deku, what are you doing? Get away from the creep. Bakugo yelled as he pointed at Dabi. No, I don't think I will. Izuku told him as they walked off. Your parents will be worried sick if you go with that guy. Bakugo said as he followed them. To his shock Izuku stopped and started laughing. Hahaha. Are you for real right now? I haven't lived with those assholes in years, so who I go with is between me and my gods of chaos. He said. You're lying, they would never do that. Bakugo yelled. He didn't even think as he ran at Deku, his hand popping off, but before he could reach him Dabi's hands grabbed his wrists and pulled him to meet his gaze. Now I don't normally hurt kids, but I am willing to make an exception for you, brat. If I see you near my brats again there won't be even ash left of you. Dabi whispered into his ear, his hand heating up as he did. He didn't wait for Bakugo to respond and dropped the pale child. Bakugo watched as they left. It had to be a lie, there was no way auntie or uncle would do that. They were the nicest people in the world. Weren't they? Once they got to Dabi's apartment, Izuku was quick to jump into the web he'd made in the corner of the living room. Well, Mei asked if he had a laptop she could use. Yeah, hold on a second. Dabi said. He went to his bedroom to get it. He offered the kids the room, but they said the living room was fine. He nearly had a heart attack when he woke up in the morning and Izuku had made a giant web to sleep in. Here. Thank you. She said and went to work typing. So I think you need a better name. Izuku said as he looked at Dabi. What are you talking about? He asked him. What was wrong with Dabi? He thought it was cool. I can respect you changing your name, but I think you went a little too my chemical. Izuku said. Oh, and what would you have gone with Itsy Bitsy? Dabi challenged as if he could do better. Azul, Moyasu, Azrael. Ash, Kaji, Azazel. Engi, Wisp, Drake. Ebo, Hurricane, or. Okay, I get it. He didn't think he'd be called out like this by 8-year-olds. Though he had to admit some of them weren't bad. Suddenly his phone went off, he checked it and it was one of the jobs he applied for. They said they wanted an interview with him. What made you so happy? Izuku asked him. I got an interview at this fancy club. The pay at those places was always good, he might even be able to get a better apartment. Don't those places need paperwork and stuff? Mei asked. Shit. That might be tricking seeing as he didn't have any. Looks like he was going to have to call that slime ball. Don't worry, I got you covered, just need to overhaul your computer real quick. Mei said, getting a mad look in her eyes as she started to take the laptop apart. That thing better not raise up and try to kill the human race. That's my job. Izuku said. You worry too much. Mei laughed. Dabi sweat dropped as he watched. What had he gotten himself into with these two? Dabi liked to think of himself as a pretty tough guy. He'd been in a lot of shit since he left his hellhole, burned a person or two alive, fought off gangs, and all types of other shit he'd rather not think of, but never has he seen an 8-year-old build something like this in a matter of hours. The computer Mei had built was like something out of a sci-fi movie, and the girl just smiled proudly as she got to work on her second project. Hacking into the government systems, which she looked all too happy to do. So what do you want the surname to be? Mei asked as she went on typing. Put Akui for the surname. That good with you too? Dabi asked, surprising the two kids. Why are you staring? You mean this is for us too? Izuku asked. Listen, I meant what I said before, I don't share my soba with just anyone you know, so you're stuck with me. Dabi told them and he watched as Izuku dropped his mask a bit and smiled. No, take backs. Izuku said, dashing his leaking eyes. No, take backs. Dabi said. Okay, I also changed our school contacts to you. The other stuff will be ready the day after tomorrow. Mei said. The next day the kids didn't have school and Dabi didn't want to leave them alone after Mei fixed the toaster and it exploded. So he took them with him to his interview, so they did burn the building down, hopefully they wouldn't mind. During the walk to the club, they heard something. Dabi told the kids to stay back while he went to check it out. When he got there, a group of 4 men has surrounded a man. You got a lot of nerve walking around here and not paying the toll. One said. Or don't and we all get new belts. Another jeered, making the others laugh. Hey. Dabi yelled, getting their attention. What the hell do you want? Stay out of this patchwork. Yeah, unless you want to. They stopped as Dabi stretched out his flame-covered hand at them. Run or burn. Dabi threatens, his eyes burning like his flames. This isn't over. The leader said as they ran off only to be caught in something at the other end of the alley. Looks like I caught some bugs in my web. Izuku said as he crawled down from his hiding place on the wall, May right behind him. I told you to stay back. Dabi said exasperated before he turned back to the man. He had long golden hair and sharp features, and from the waist down, he had a long snake body instead of legs. You have my thanks for the assistance, young man, and you too, little spider. I'll call the police to pick up these ruffians. So who do I have the pleasure of thanking? The man asked as he took out his phone. Dabi. He said. The man's eyes were predatory as he looked him up and down. Well, Dabi, thank you. My name is Arachi. He said with a small chuckle. By the time the police came and took everyone's statement, over an hour had passed. Could they have been any slower? Dabi grumbled as the officers left. Oh, did you have somewhere to be? Arachi asked. He had a job interview and he missed it. Izuku said. Interview, you say, where at? He asked looking at Dabi. The grotto, man, this sucks. Dabi sighed. He'd have to call Jiren for odd jobs till he found something now. Hopefully, this time wouldn't end with someone trying to ship him to fuck knows where. Perfect. I know the owner personally. I'll go with you and explain everything. How does that sound? Arachi said. You don't have to do that. Dabi said. I insist, it's the least I can do for you helping me. Now come along, we don't want to dawdle. Arachi told them as he started to slither off. Izuku asked 1,001 questions for Arachi about his quirk as they walked, and the man happily answered each one. May even threw in some of her own, like how tough his scales were. Guys, could you back off a bit? Dabi told them. Don't worry, I quite enjoy this. Not many children have such inquisitive minds as these two. You must be proud. Arachi laughed as he smiled, showing off his fangs. Dabi saying that he was, and then following it up by ruffling their hair, threw Izuku through a loop. Hisashi could barely stand being in the same room as him, and his Inko didn't want to so much as touch him since he was born. But here was someone he only just met doing it like it was no big deal. May practically purred at the show of affection. You three really are adorable. We're here. Arachi said once they arrived and pushed open the doors. Sir, where have you been? We've been. You said you were only going for a walk. One of the workers said as ran up to the serpent man. I ran into a bit of trouble, Rashi, but never mind that. I'd like to introduce you to our newest bartender, Dabi. Arachi said. I'm sorry, what? Dabi said, shocked. I guess bury the lead, I do know the owner quite well, being him and all. Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am Arachi Sugoroku. Owner of this humble establishment. He said, giggling at the younger man's shocked expression. So I got the job? Dabi asked, shocked. Indeed, we can start soon, but you'll also need to make moving arrangements. One of the bonuses is an apartment for getting the job. Now, what school do these sweet little dears attend? Arachi asked. We go to Eldera. Izuku said as Dabi tried to recover. That place, I've heard more than one nasty thing about it. If you don't mind, I have some connections with a private school in the area. You'd have to take a test, but that's really more of a formality. Arachi offered. I don't know what to say. Dabi said as he started to recover. Say yes. You're one of us now and we looked out for our own here. Isn't that right, Rashi? Arachi asked. It's true. Rashi said. It had been 1 month since Katsuki had last seen Deku. He asked the teachers and they told him that the spider child no longer was their problem and not worry about him. That didn't make any sense. Auntie would have told them if the other boy was changing schools, wouldn't they? What Deku said came to mind, so that night he told his parents about it and they went for a visit to clear everything up. When they arrived at the Midoriya's new home, the first thing he notices is that there aren't any pictures of Deku anywhere. Mitsuki, it's so good to see you all, it's been too long. Inko greeted as they sat down. I'll say it has. Look at you. Mitsuki said, waving to the green-haired woman's belly. Yes, Hisashi and I are so excited about our first child. Inko smiled. Yup, we've been busy setting everything up and there is still so much to do before they get here. Hisashi said as he placed the tray of snacks down. What are you talking about, first child? You have little Izuku, remember? Mitsuki laughed. It was just new baby jitters, right? Come on now, Mitsuki, that thing was never our child. It was only a burden, and after what happened with Katsuki, it was better to rid ourselves of it once and for all. Inko said, the smile never leaving her face. The Bakugo family was shocked by what Inko had just said, but Katsuki was hit the hardest. It was his fault Izuku got kicked out of his home. He attacked the other boy for getting in his way and standing up to him. It wasn't Izuku's fault, his quirk was just defending him, but everyone blamed him. He remembered Izuku begging him to tell them what happened, but he just brushed him off. That revelation sucked the air out of his lungs. I'm sure by now someone's picked it up. After all, mutations sell for a pretty penny on the black market. Hisashi chuckled. You're monsters. Masaru yelled, his normal calmness gone as he was red with anger. "We'll tell the police." Mitsuki added, hoping it wasn't too late for them to find Izuku. "Oh, will you? What will you tell them? A high-ranked member of the safety commission did what? You can't do anything, Mits. I could kill you right here and now and nothing happen. So why don't save us all the trouble and leave?" Hisashi said, smirking at the blonde woman. Mitsuki wanted to do more, but Masaru ushered them to the door. He had a feeling the dark-haired man wasn't joking earlier. "Oh, and Kitsuki, keep up the good work. You already helped get rid monster plaguing us. I'll make a fine hero," Hisashi said as they left. Mitsuki never felt dirtier in his entire life once they got home. His mother was heartbroken as she cried as his father held her. All this pain was his fault, he caused. He hurt the only real friend he had and ruined his life. He didn't deserve to be a hero. "Izuku, hurry up," Mei yelled. She was ecstatic they were starting their new school today. "Dabi, make him get out of the bathroom." "Izuku, come down before Mei vibrates through the floor," the man called. The kids had passed the test to get into their new school with ease. The teacher that graded the test was shocked by their scores and happily welcomed them into the gifted program. "I'm ready," Izuku said as he came down. "Finally, why did you take so long?" Dabi asked him. "Do you have any idea how hard it is to brush your hair when you're covered in it?" Izuku said, leveling him a look. "Besides, it's been a while since I liked my hair color." "Yeah, I get it," Dabi said, rubbing his own head. He was happy when his hair started to turn white, making him look less like his father, but he also wasn't a big fan of his mother either. After he ran away he planned to dye it, but he couldn't decide on a color. Izuku and Mei suggested silver, and he had to admit it was a good look, and not wanting to leave them out of burning their pasts, they got hair changes too. Izuku was now blue and silver, while Mei had streaks mixed in with her pink dreads. "I will leave both here, let's go," Mei growled. Alright, let's go," he said, and they all left the apartment. Fayumi winced as she dabbed her mouth, a gift from her suitor. When she got home and told her father, he said she'd still had to see that man. She was at a loss for words. As she left the bathroom she passed her father's office. The door was cracked and she could hear him talking to someone. "So I take it my daughter meets your son's criteria?" Enji said. "Yes, she's quite lovely and has a powerful quirk as well. Those two will make very powerful children indeed. Are you sure you want to part with her? She has all the qualities you were looking for after all," the other man said. "I have no intention to waste time on training a girl," Enji said. "Alright, there are just a few things to finish up on my end and their marriage will cover your end of the deal. On that topic, how's Ray? When you came to me looking for something with those specifications it wasn't an easy task, you know," the man said. "Ray broke and scarred my perfect creation. Luckily she wasn't needed anymore. I got what I needed," Enji said. The two kept talking, but Fayumi couldn't listen anymore and ran to her room as the tears fell from her eyes. She'd always thought that if she just kept smiling and waiting that things would get better. Clearly, she was wrong. Her father never cared about her or her other siblings. She should have seen it sooner. Ayumi's eyes fell on a picture of Tuia and her heart sank. He always told her that Enji never cared about them, but she just kept making excuses for him. When he hurt their mother, when he called them failures, how he tossed Tuia aside when Shadow was born, and how the man didn't shed a single tear when he found out Tanya died. It was all so obvious. Fayumi laughed. She closed herself off to what this world was. They were just a means to an end for the flame hero to surpass All Might. No more. She would make Endeavor pay for what he'd done. She'd make the man suffer 10 times everything he put them through. Izuku and Mei unsurprisingly were the talk of the school as the only two transfer students in the elite school. So when the break bell rang they were asked tons of questions. Mei was quick to take the opportunity to talk about her inventions. Izuku got some as well, though it was not as many people. Mainly they asked about his quirk, which he was happy to tell them, and ask about theirs too. "Ach, why are you all getting so worked up about two pores? Enzo, you can't say that," one of the other students reprimands. "Why not? I'm simply stating the facts, they're a charity case and nothing more," Enzo said. "Wow, your dick must be non-existent if you're this insecure," Izuku said, making the other students gasp. "What was that, you bug?" Enzo said. "How dare that low class talk back to him like that? And I see how low your grades are, seeing you don't know the difference between insects and arachnids. But it can't be helped, seeing as you seem to have more money than brains." Izuku said. The class was quiet before then erupted into a storm of laughter as Enzo stomped off. "I'm saving this for the gallery," Mei said as she categorized his latest roost. Izuku laughed at that. "It looks like things won't be too boring after all." "Tensei, don't be so stiff, it's your day off tomorrow, live a little," Nomuri said as they entered grotto. "Why did you invite me here?" Tensei asked her. "Can't I hang out with my friend?" Besides Hisashi, Shouta and Oboro, can't they just adopted a kid? So just come on and enjoy the single no kids life with me. Namuri told him with a smile. I don't see how this type of place isn't really my see. Suddenly the speed hero stopped seeming to be in a trace. Tensei, what are you? Oh, I see. The R-rated hero smirked as she followed his line of sight to the bar where a silver-haired man was lighting drinks with his quirk. So that's your type, you should go talk to him. I don't know, Namuri. He seems busy. Tensei stammered, waving his hands about. Then we better get his attention then. Barkeep, we need another round for me and my buddy here. Namuri said, pulling the failing Tensei along with her to the bar. This was going to be a fun night. So Tensei has a crush? Hisashi grinned from his desk at their agency. I was starting to think that he'd never find someone. Are they cute? Oboro asked Midnight with a laugh. Oh, very, want to see a picture I took? The R-rated hero offered as she pulled out her phone. Are you three just going to talk like high schoolers or are you going to do actual work? Shouta said grumpily as he walked in with his coffee. Come on, show, aren't you a bit curious to see what Tensei's type is? Midnight asked, waving her phone in hand. The underground hero growled but looked at the picture and was a bit surprised. Not what I expected. Shouta said, glancing at the picture. I know, right? Who would have thought he would go for the bad boy type? Hisashi said. Then again, people said that about the three of them as well. Hey, what do you think about giving Ingenium a little push? Oboro grinned as he started to form a plan. Since living with Dabi, Izuku noticed something about the older man. He wasn't one to talk about feelings or other mushy stuff like, thank gods, that, but he did like showing affection in other ways. Mainly by small acts like hair ruffles, head pats, and other small things like that. At first, Izuku wasn't sure how to react to this and would freeze unsure of what to do, but now. He found himself seeking it out and reciprocating, his favorite being what May dubbed the cuddle pile, which they all loved. Dabi said it was likely to do with them all being touched starved for so long. Zoo. Wake up unless you want to stay in the blast zone. May yelled, pulling him from his thoughts. Fuck, come on James. Izuku said, picking up a goose that was standing next to him and rushed to a safe distance. Explain why I let you keep that thing again. Dabi sighed as he pinched the bridge of his nose. Because he fits in with us perfectly. Izuku said as he pets the goose. Last week Izuku found the poor creature being picked on by some kids and he scared them off. The bird hadn't left Izuku's side since then and threatened most that he didn't approve of. And how does it exactly? Dabi asked, pointing at the bird, and earned a hiss and nip for his trouble. See, he doesn't take anyone's shit too. Izuku laughed and the goose seemed to understand and nodded in agreement. Of course, his kids couldn't bring home a normal animal. If you three are done, let's get to the test. Spybug Mark III field test. May said and pressed a button activating her latest baby. A small spy bot buzzes and takes to the air. May uses her controller to move the bot about in the air, even pulling off some small tricks with it. Their flight capabilities are good now to test the weapon system. May said. Weapons, what did you give that thing? Dabi asked, hoping she didn't try to give another invention a laser after last time. The little guy's got gas on him. She told him as she pressed the button. What kind? Dabi asked cautiously. It's just a sparkle bomb. Mary assured him. Dabi gave a sigh, good they were in a public park and the last thing he wanted was to end up on the news because they set it on fire. I still think you should have put a Gatling gun on it. Izuku grumbled unhappily about the change. Don't worry, that's for the next one. May said, cheering him up. No. Let's not. Dabi said of course this was too good to be true. Itachi was having a normal day at the park with his dads when he heard some people yelling. When he went to see what was going on, three large men were looking down at another man not looking too happy. The smaller man seemed to be calm, but the others looked angry. Things weren't looking too good. He quickly ran over to get his fathers, they were heroes after all. The last thing Shouta thought would happen when they went to the park was to stop three grown men from wanting to fight a child over a simple accident. But he should have expected this, his family had a way of attracting trouble. What he didn't expect was one of the people involved to be the person from Namuri's phone. Hisashi was the second to take notice and started a conversation with the man. Though he looked a bit uncomfortable around the heroes. The kids on the other hand were all talking to Oboro, fascinated by his eye patch and Hitashi's hair. Hitachi was naturally shy and wasn't much for talking, but to his surprise was fine with talking to the two siblings. Once the police came and grabbed them and Oboro got a look. The dark-haired man knew that look, he had it whenever he was plotting something. Hey, do you guys live in the area? We should all hang out sometime. Oboro asked Dabi. I don't know. He said. Please? Hitachi asked, looking at the man with the other two joining him. Shouta knew from experience how powerful those eyes of his sons were. Dabi crumbled instantly. After they exchanged information, everyone went their separate ways. Hisashi was texting Tensei the whole time. "I don't know about this," Dabi said. They were going to see Hitachi today, which meant they were going to a hero's house, not exactly something the burned man was looking forward to. "Yeah, same here, Toasty," Izuku said as they walked. "What, I thought you were looking forward to this?" Dabi asked, surprised. "He's worried because I said he has to talk to people instead of letting me do all the talking for once," Mei said. She normally took the lead in talking to people when it didn't involve fighting. "Why are you worried? I mean, you seemed to be fine the other day," Dabi asked the fidgeting Izuku. "That was different, those guys trying to pick a fight. Here there isn't a distraction from this," Izuku gestured to himself. "Last time I checked I was the walking mess here. So don't worry about it, you look fine," Dabi said, petting the Izuku head, which never failed to cheer the kid up. While he did this, Dabi was also thinking of ways he could burn the kid's parents to ash without getting caught. "That's what I keep telling him," Mei said, hugging Izuku as she whispered. "And if anyone does say anything, I can kick their ass." "Thanks, sis." Izuku laughed as they walked. Then you wasn't sure why Tensei was acting so weird lately. They were just going over to his friend's home. They'd done it lots of times before, granted now they had a child around the same age as him. That was something that was worrying Tenyu at least. He'd never been good at interacting with other kids. What if he didn't like him? Would that mean that Tensei's friends wouldn't like him anymore? Would Tensei be mad at him for ruining his friendship? "We're here," Tensei called as they arrived at the door, pulling Tenyu from his thoughts. "Don't be so nervous. Hitachi is a really nice kid and I'm sure you'll get along." "Must you be so loud?" Aizawa groaned as he opened the door, looking like his usual sleepy self. "Well, I have to wake Sleeping Beauty." Tensei laughed as his friend glared at him, only for it to turn into a smirk. "That inside, Oboro has a surprise for you in the living room," the man said. "Really, that guy loves his surprises," Tensei said, walking in. "Hitachi and the other kids are in the backyard, Tenya," Aizawa said. Tenyu wasn't expecting there to be more people here, but he could do this for Tensei. With that thought, he walked inside. This is one of the single most awkward times in Izuku's short life. He and Mei, along with Hitachi and another kid, Tenya, were all in the backyard, while Dabi and the other adults were all inside talking. Mei kept true to her word and didn't say anything to help break the ice. This was crazy, just say something, damn it. "Who wants to play two truths and a lie?" Mei asked, throwing the boys a bone. Izuku wanted to cry gratitude for saving them. "How do you play that?" Tenya asked. "The rules are simple. You tell two truths and one lie about yourself, and everyone takes a guess as to what the truth is. The goal is to stump the others," Izuku explained, and the others all seemed to be interested. "This sounds fun," Hitachi said. "Indeed, Hitachi, since we're at your home you should go first," Tenya said. "Alright," Hitachi said. "This looks like this won't be an awful time after all." This was awful, Dabi thought. He was in a house full of heroes. He would have left already when he saw the guy he'd been seeing around the bar over the last few weeks, but when he looked outside, the two brats were laughing and having a good time. He didn't have the heart ruin their fun, so he sucked it up. He'd excused himself to get a drink from the kitchen and not hiding out. "Hey." "Yeah?" Dabi asked, but he already knew who it was. "Sorry, didn't mean to bother you," Tensei said as he got something to drink. Neither said anything for a bit before Dabi decided to talk. "So are you stalking me for something or what?" Dabi asked. He'd been good about never getting caught when he did his less than illegal activities from before, but you could never be too safe. The worst case was he'd have to start a fire and get the kids and book it. "What, no. I'm not, I mean don't," Tensei sighed as he rubbed the back of his head. "So you did see me at the club, huh?" "Hard to not when you keep staring at me," Dabi said. "Can you blame me? I mean, you're so hot that you make Endeavor look like a matchstick," Tensei said, blushing but making Dabi laugh. Tensei panicked at his fucked up. Of course, he would laugh, as he wished the floor would open up and swallow him. Dabi spoke. "Blue flames do tend to be hotter, buddy. So I take it this whole thing was your doing?" Dabi said, wiping his eye. "What? No, this was all Oboro and Zashi. I had nothing to do with this, you have to believe me," Tensei said, waving his arms about. "That makes sense. I'm glad you're not some stalker, that would have been a hassle," Dabi said. "Good, the last thing he need was to be on the run for burning down a hero's house." "Would going out for coffee be a hassle too?" Tensei asked him tentatively. "Are you sure about that, pal? These burns aren't just on the top, they go all over," Dabi said, pulling his collar to show more of his neck. "Yeah, in fact, I'd love to see the rest sometime," Tensei said with a blush. "Play your cards right and you might," Dabi said, hiding his own blush. Hisashi Midoriya had just gotten off work and was headed to the subway when a bird blocked his path. "Shoo. Out of the way." The man said, waving his hands about to try and scare the bird off, but it was completely unfazed. Move before I have you stuffed, you dumb. Suddenly the man was surrounded by geese, all looking very angry. Nice birdies. I was just joking about the stuffed thing. The man said. The lead bird's eyes seemed to be burning into his soul as it looked at him. Honk. The sashi fell to the ground before he could get up. Something grabbed his legs and dragged him into the alley. The man screamed as the birds followed him inside. When Izuku got home, James was sleeping peacefully on his bed in the living room. "Aw, James, were you a good boy while we're gone?" Izuku said, petting his head. "Izuku, why is there a bunch of bloody money in the kitchen?" Dabi asked. Dabi was shaking as he hesitantly looked at the gates of the Iida household. "Dude, calm down, you look like you're going to puke," Mei told the sweating man. "Guys, I can't do this. I need to reschedule." Dabi panicked. What if Tensei's parents didn't like him? What if they recognized him from one of his jobs? Or worse yet, what if they remembered him from before? "Get it together, man, I highly doubt they won't like you," Izuku said. "Yeah, and if they don't, I doubt that's a deal breaker for Tensei. The guy gets hard eyes whenever he sees you, for crying out loud. Now come on, I changed out of my overalls for this," Mei told him as she pressed the bell. Tanaka and Nakamura had never seen their son so nervous before. Tensei had been running around the house for hours making sure everything was right for tonight's dinner. Tenya wasn't sure why his older brother was acting this way, and when he asked his mother, she just said he wanted everything to be perfect. The bell rang and Tensei looked ready to jump out of his skin. "Alright, they're here," Tensei said, fixing his shirt. "Sweetie, calm down." Nakamura laughed. Her eldest told them that despite his suitor's rough exterior, he was a very kind man, and she believed him. Her eldest always had good judgment of people. "Right," Tensei said as they went to greet their guests. When the Iidas got to the entrance, Nakamura understood why her son was nervous about them meeting. "Akui, it's so lovely to finally meet you," Nakamura said, pinching her husband to pull him out of his haze to follow her lead. They'd been waiting weeks to meet Akui after hearing about him from Taseni. "Yes, my son has told us much about you," her husband said, extending his hand. Still a bit concerned, this was the person his son had been seeing for the past few weeks. "The pleasure is all mine, sir," the young man said, taking his hand. This night was going to be an interesting night, Nakamura thought as they went to the dining room. Izuku and Mei were in awe of how big Tenya's house is. It was crazy, the dining area was huge. Izuku couldn't help but think of the webs he could make here. The dinner went and Izuku had a new respect for the lady of the Iida family, for her ability to grill Dabi with a smile on her face. If she could make the burned man squirm like this, then he could only imagine what she did to villains. "Mr. and Mrs. Iida, may Izuku, Tenya, and I be excused please?" Mei asked. "Such a polite girl. Of course, you can, sweetie. Tenya, why don't you show them the garden?" Nakamura said. "Yes, mother," Tenya said, leading them outside. "Tenya, do you have a training area out here?" Mei asked as she took in all the space. "We do, why?" Tenya asked as Mei got a look in her eyes, one that Izuku knew all too well. "You better get a helmet." He chuckled. Dabi wasn't sure what to think when Tensei's mom asked him to help her with something in the kitchen. Tensei offered to help his play, sensing Dabi's apprehension, but his father asked him to help else. Tensei mouthed sorry as they were led in different directions. "So Dabi, what are your intentions with my son?" she asked, folding her arms as she waited for his answer. "Well, you mama, that is to say P. No need to be so nervous, Akui-kun. Tensei is quite taken with you, in fact, I've never seen him this happy," she told him. Dabi could barely hold in his flames as they flickered with joy at hearing that. He didn't think that he was a good match for Tensei sometimes, the man was always so kind and understanding. Still, that didn't stop him from thinking he wasn't good enough. Meanwhile, Tensei was going through similar questioning from his father, but was stopped when they heard yelling coming from outside. The adults went to check on the kids. Dabi paled at what he saw once outside. Tenya was running faster than he'd even seen him, while Izuku, who was flailing in the air as he was dragged along by a thread on the larger boy. "Tenya, stop," Tanaka said as he watched the scene. "I can't," Tenya yelled as he kept running. "I got this," Tensei said as he quickly sprang into action. Catching Tenya normally wasn't something that he normally had a hard time with, but this time he had a bit of trouble and ended up tackling Tenya in order to stop him, and while Dabi caught Izuku. "Are you two alright?" Tanaka asked, going over to check on the two children. "Yeah," Izuku said. "I believe so," Tenya said. "Thank goodness. Tenya, you know better than to try a reciprocal burst without an adult," Tensei said, happy Tenya was okay. "I wasn't doing a burst," Tenya said. "You weren't? How the heck was Tenya able to go that fast then?" "This was my fault," Mei said, drawing everyone's attention to her. Tenya told me his quirk worked with juice, so I wanted to make him one that would help him go faster. I didn't think it would make him lose control. Mei sniffled. I am sorry about this. Dobby said this was not how he wanted the night to go. Well, I can't say I'm not surprised, I'm just happy no one got hurt, but next time you want to test something like this, please ask one of us first. Nakamura said. Really? Mei asked, wiping her eyes. Yes, and who knows, maybe you'll be able to perfect it, then I can use it for my hero work. Tensei said. You have no idea what you signed up for. Dobby told him. What do you mean? Tensei asked but when he looked down at Mei her eyes were shining as she looked at him. He might be in a bit of trouble. Dobby laughed. This turned out to be a great met the parents after all. Izuku was whistling as he helped Mei carry a box of parts back home. What are you building anyway? Izuku asked as he walked down the street. Nothing new right now, but I am upgrading my flybot. She told him. Honk. What is it, boy? Izuku asked as James charged ahead. Don't see what the big deal is, runt. The larger Kaido boy said. Yeah, all you gotta do is get the teacher to give us the answers to the test. The other boy's lackey Shido said. I don't want to. Hitachi said. These two were always trying to get him to do things like this. Normally he was able to avoid them, but today they were able to corner him. Why not, it's not like your quirk is good for anything else. Kaido said, pushing his shoulder. This wasn't good. Hitachi was trapped. How do I get out of this? Honk. Hitachi knew that sound anywhere. There standing at the mouth of the alley was an angry-looking James. What with the stupid bird? Shido asked. Get out of here. Kaido said as he picked rock to throw at James only for something to hold back his hand. What the? The boys all paled as they looked up and saw someone clinging to the wall. That's not very nice. He said, not taking his glowing yellow eyes off them. Run. Kaido and Shido both screamed as they left Hitachi behind. Haha. Did you see the look on their faces, priceless? They laughed. Akui? Hitachi asked, shocked. How many other spiders do you know? The spider boy said as crawled down to eye level with him. Hitachi couldn't stop looking at the other boy. Izuku wasn't sure what Hitachi was looking at before it clicked. Oh yeah, you've never seen these before. Izuku said, moving his extra limbs so that Hitachi could see them. Look but don't touch. Wow, Hitachi said. You guys okay? Mei asked as she walked into the alley. As if. Hitachi, are you good? Izuku asked and he nodded. Good, then what was that about? It's a long story. He was clearly a bit uncomfortable about talking about this. Well, if you're free then come hang out with us for a bit. Mei asked, confused by the other's reaction. You don't have to if you don't want to. I mean, you probably have other stuff to do, right? Izuku said he was used to this reaction, but for some reason, Hitachi's bothered him. So he was surprised when the other boy agreed to come. If you say so. Izuku thought that they had fun when they hung out, but Hitachi always seemed uncomfortable about something. Then to the cafe. Mei announced, leading the way. Izuku didn't bother to retract his extra limbs, seeing as his shirt was already ruined, so he kept them out as they walked. Which earned them a few looks from passers-by, but Izuku was unbothered. Soon they arrive at the cafe and take a seat. You are gonna love this place, they have the best desserts. Mei said. That is certainly a high compliment from you, little lady. The waitress said as she went up to their table. Hey Faye, how have you been? Izuku greeted her. Same old you guys. I see you brought someone new with you today. Hello there. Faye just noticed that Hitachi was there. He gave a small wave which she happily returned. So let me guess, the usual for you three, for you sweetie. I personally recommend the Potastic Parfait. I'll have that then. He said. You got it, that will be out for you in a sec. Faye told them as she went to put their order in. No one said anything for a while, but Hitachi was the one to break the silence. How do you do it? He asked. Do what? They asked. Not care about what people think. He said. The whole time he was with them, people had been staring and whispering about them. Even now some of the other patrons were glancing at them. Hey, freak. Some man yelled, cutting Izuku off. I'm trying to enjoy my date but can't with your buggy ass here, so scram. Is that your date? Izuku asked, looking to where the man was pointing. Yeah, what of it? The man said. Ma'am, you are very pretty, but I think you should rethink your date here. I mean, a grown man yelling like this in public clearly is beneath you. Izuku said, making the woman laugh, and the man turned red in anger and embarrassment. You. The man stammered. He also isn't very articulate. Izuku said, making the man turn even redder. He went to slap Izuku only for the boy to catch the man's hand. And of course resorts to violence when they're called out. Let go of me, you. Before the man could finish, Izuku bit his hand, making him collapse on the floor. Alright, guys, I have your fuck. Faye said as she took in the sight. After their interesting time at the cafe, the kids decided it was time to go. Sorry about what happened back there, Hitachi. Izuku said as they left. It's alright. Does that kind of thing happen to you a lot? The purple-haired boy asked. My whole life, at a certain point you have to make the choice not to care about what some people think about you. Don't give other people that power over you. Izuku told him. Hitachi looked thoughtful for a moment. Even if your quirk is a villain's? Hitachi asked. That's when it all clicked and Izuku wanted to laugh, so that's what the other boy was worried about. Dude, I literally look like something out of a monster movie. You think I give a flying fuck and a half what someone's quirk is? Izuku laughed. Even if it's brainwashing? Hitachi said. Firstly, that's cool as hell, and secondly, no, I still don't care. Don't let what others expect of you define you. Izuku told him. I can't believe you didn't tell me about this sooner. I have so many ideas for you. I'm going to head home right now and work on my newest baby. Mei cheered as she ran off. Mei, wait. I have to catch her, see you later, Hitachi. Izuku said as he ran after his sister. Later that night the Dobby was confused as James walked up to Izuku with a gold watch in his beak, looking all too pleased with himself. Oh, look at you all. Nakamura said. My babies are all grown up. Oboro said as they took another picture of Izuku, Mei, Tenya and Hitachi. Hops. Hitachi groaned at his father's antics. Guys, we have to get going soon or we'll be late. Izuku said. Can you blame them? I mean, it seems like yesterday you guys were blowing up the shed and now look at going to take the UA entrance exams. Tensei sniffled as he thought back to their younger days. Wheels, you can reminisce later, they have to get going. Dobby stopped before Tensei got started. Fine, everybody ready to ship out? Oboro asked. Shouda and his Ashi were already at UA helping get together with the other teachers. Before you go, I made you all lunch. Nakamura said, handing them each a bento and one final hug as they left. I can't believe we're really here. Hitachi said. They looked up at the gates. Now listen up, you three. Mei said, getting the boys' attention. All three of you better get in, after all, I only make babies for the best and I can't do that if you all don't pass. So you better get in. Mei said, leaving no room for arguments. Okay, little sis. Izuku smirked, patting her head. He had a bit of a growth spurt over the last few months and was now the tallest of the group, much to Mei's dismay, having been taller than him until recently. Mei kicked Izuku's leg, making him yelp. Mei, that's highly inappropriate conduct. As potential UA students, we should act appropriately. Tenya said. You're lucky, bye guys, I'll see you later. Mei waved as she ran off to her test. We should get moving too. Hitachi said. He was taking the recommended exam in another part of the school. Izuku and Tenya were offered to take that exam as well, but Tenya wanted to earn his spot at UA. Izuku wanted to as well, but he also heard that those taking the practical test would be fighting robots and he wasn't going to pass that up. Once they got inside, Hitachi went to his exam area while Izuku and Tenya headed to the stadium. Even though it was still early, seats were filling up fast. They found some open spots in the middle row. There are so many people here. Izuku said, looking around as more people poured in. Indeed. Tenya said. They'd have to do their best if they wanted to get in. When the stadium was full, President Mick walked on the stage. Hey, all you party people, can I get a yeah? Mick yelled. Yeah. Sit down. Tenya said as he pulled Izuku back down, slightly embarrassed by Izuku's antics. Izuku grinned as he laughed, saying Tenya should lighten up. Thank you, examinee. Now let's start on these tracks. The voice hero said as he got to explaining the exam. As Hitachi finished his lap for the recommended exam when someone caught his eye. It was a boy with half red and white hair. He wasn't sure what, but something about them seemed so familiar. Their eyes maybe. Number 36, please step forward. Hound Dog said. Hitachi shook his head. He'd have to think about that later, for now he needs to focus. In the observation deck, the teachers all watched as Mick called for the exam to start and the candidates to rush ahead into the mock city. It would appear we have a lively batch this year. Nezu said as he watched the screens. We do. Oh, look at my little nephews go. Midnight Kuda, she watched Tenya and Izuku take out 2 and 3 pointers with ease. Nezu, sir, might I ask you something? Why is there a goose here? All Might asked, looking at the bird sitting next to Nezu. You mean James? He's an old friend of mine. The principal said. James nodded, confirming this. The number 1 hero looked like he wanted to ask more questions, but Izawa stopped him. Trust me, don't question it. The less you think about the better. The underground hero sighed. All Might looked at the goose and felt like the fowl would steal his soul if he wasn't careful. Right. All Might said, dropping the subject, and went back to watching the exam. James honked at Nezu and he nodded. Yes, I'd say that it's time as well. Would you care to do the honors? Nezu asked, holding up a remote with a bright red button on it. James happily pressed it using his beck. Izuku was crawling on the side of a mock build. He'd been sneaking up on groups of robots to take them out. So far it has been going pretty well, he'd taken down over 12 so far. Tenya was taking his test in another area which made sense. They likely did that so people that might know each other wouldn't help one another. But he was sure to give Izuku a long talk about acting properly. Suddenly his body shuddered and he was on high alert. What the hell is going on? Izuku said, looking around for the threat when the ground started to shake. He went up higher to get a better look and there stomping and crushing everything in its way was the zero-pointer. Odds, I hope May never has a chance to play with that thing. He laughed as he thought of his sister riding that thing like something out of a mecha anime. One of the giant robot's arms swung, sending rubble flying everywhere. Izuku cursed when saw the rocks heading right for a group of people running away. Acting quickly he stopped the debris with his webs. Wow, thanks for the save dude. The pink-skinned girl said. Don't mention it, you should hurry and get out of here. Izuku told her before he jumped off. Izuku went on helping others. A couple of people had been trapped under rocks or ambushed by some remaining robots as they ran. Suddenly the zero-pointer started to move faster. What the hell? Izuku growled there was no way someone wasn't going to get hurt at this rate. Well, this was on my bucket list. He signed. May smiled as the support course test finished. Her babies had the examiner speechless. Not that he should be anything less, her babies were top tier after all. As she went to wait for the boys to get done she heard some people talking. The hero course test is nuts. One said. Right glad that's not me. Another said. What are you doing? May asked, walking up to them. My quirk lets me broadcast anything on a screen. So we're watching the hero course exam. This one guy is nuts, he's fighting a giant robot. He said. May went over to see this person, though she had a good idea who it was. Hey, that's my brother. May said, her suspicions confirmed as she watched Izuku swing and jump all over the robot. Come on, you pile of junk, you're going to have to try harder to hit me. Izuku taunted as he jumped to the zero-pointer's other arm. Time. Listeners, please head to the exit if anyone is injured please hold tight and our nurse is on the way. President Mick yelled over the speaker. Izuku sighed in relief before he cursed. Hopefully, he'd gotten enough points before he got down from the mecha he took a picture with it. May would kill him if he didn't. Itsuki wasn't sure how to feel as he looked up at UA. He'd gotten into UA just like he always wanted. Just like Izuku had always wanted. He and his family had looked for Izuku for over a year, but nothing turned up. The police were no help either, most likely because of Hisashi. That news wounded Kitsuki more than he thought possible. Itsuki wanted no, he needed to make it up to him, but now he never could. Itsuki walked up to the door of his classroom. He sighed as he walked inside, but he was shocked by what he saw. Come down from there this instant. Tenya yelled. No, if you're going to wake me up over an hour early then I'm going to nap. Izuku said as he hid inside the web he spun in the back of the classroom. Izuku was not happy that Tenya and May had him wake and come in extra early. Hitachi was in a similar boat, but he was napping in the teacher lounge, leaving Izuku alone with Tenya. This is not behavior befitting UA students. Tenya yelled, his hands chopping. Tenya went on ranting for a bit not noticing that someone else had entered the classroom. It took all of Izuku's control not to react when he saw who it was. Bakugo fucking Kitsuki. The blonde looked at him, but before he could say anything more people came in. Yeah. You're the spider from the exam. The pink-skinned girl said. No way. I heard about the way you took on the zero-pointer, it was so manly. I'm Ejiro Kirishima by the way. The redhead said, greeting him. Oh yeah, my name's Mina Shido, but you can just call me Mina. She said happily. Hey, just call me Z, Izuku said, hopping down from his web. For the time being Bakugo didn't seem to recognize him and he'd like to keep it that way for as long as possible. And this guy is Tenya Ida. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Tenya said with a bow. Everyone got to talking and Izuku and Mina had formed the official insect arcade club. More people came in, Hitachi being one of them. Guys, that's the guy I was telling you about. Hitachi said motioning over to the peppermint-haired teen. Izuku had to admit it was the teen definitely had Dobby's same piercing blue eyes. Before they could talk to him the classroom door suddenly slid open and in crawled yellow mass. Everyone quiet down. The mass said as it stood up and revealed Izawa. Hitachi shook his head at his father's antics. It took you all 8 seconds to calm down, not bad but do better. I'm your homeroom teacher, Mr. Izawa. Everyone take a gym uniform and head outside. The underground hero said as he passed out the gym outfits to everyone. So the culling begins. Izuku laughed as he took his and went to change. Itsuki glanced back every now and then to the spider teen as they got to the changing room. Could that be? No, that couldn't be. The blonde shook his head to clear those thoughts. Are you seriously not going to wear a shirt? The tired-looking teen asked the spider boy. There's no point, it'll just get ripped anyway. The spider said. Hey, buddy, see something you like? He yelled, taking note of Katsuki staring. As if shithead. Katsuki yelled back, making the other laugh. That is no way to speak to your fellow classmate. The glasses-wearing teen scolded. Whatever. Katsuki huffed as he finished and left. Izuku couldn't help but laugh as he called the blonde out. His face was priceless. He'd have to play it cool, though he didn't want Bakugo putting things together, at least not yet anyway. Aizawa explained what they'd be doing out here, and Izuku and his friends weren't that surprised by it. The rest of the class, however, was in shock at his declaration. Some even protested that he couldn't do this. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but he can. Teachers at UA can teach their class however they see fit. Izuku said, shocking many. That is correct. So you all better go beyond. Aizawa said, bringing out his signature smile. The other students all looked worried, Hitachi among them. Come on guys, if we let this shake us, then how are we going to be heroes? Izuku asked everyone. He's right, a hero cannot shake in the face of adversity. Tenya said. Yeah, we got this. Mina said, the rest of the class cheering with her. The test got started with a 50-meter dash. Tenya, to no one's surprise, had one of the fastest times. When Izuku's turn came around, his running mate was a boy wearing a belt with a large buckle. It was likely some kind of support gear. For some reason, he felt his instincts alert to danger. Something wrong, Monami, or are you just in awe of my sparkle? He asked Izuku. So pal, but you don't really do it for me. Izuku said. You're lost. The blonde said. The machine beat 10. Izuku shot off ahead. 49 seconds is not bad, he thought. The other boy's score wasn't bad either, but his quirk wasn't what Izuku was expecting. A laser that came from his stomach. With a way, he thought the boy had a more dangerous quirk. He'd have to watch him, he was hiding something. The rest of the tests weren't that eventful, though Izuku did turn a few heads when he brought out his extra legs for the second half of the tests. Eyes, can I get your help? Hitachi asked Izuku and Tenya. He wasn't in last place, but he wanted to do better. Of course. I will do all that I can to help you. But I must ask that you not have me dance ever again. Tenya said. Man, that was hilarious. If you do, I'll add it to the collection. Izuku laughed. You said you deleted those. Tenya yelled, blushing. I did, Izuku said, but Mei on the other hand was another story. Anyhow, you can count on me, Hitachi. The test had ended and everyone got their scores. In the end, nobody was expelled. Mr. Aizawa told them it was all a ruse. That was not what mattered to Katsuki right now. There was just so much about him that reminded him of Izuku. Could he be? Was it possible? For now, he'd have to wait and see. If it was really Izuku, then he'd do everything he could to bring him back. That's it for today guys, hope you enjoyed this. If you did, then please make sure to leave a like, share and do check it out, author of this fanfic. Take care. Thanks for watching.